Okay, hi! Welcome back to another video. So as you have seen from the title and the thumbnail, today we are going to be talking about my reading stats for 2025. It's the standard Goodreads Storygraph compile, and this year we're going to talk about NLB Uncovered also because they sent me my stats. So I was like, okay, let's talk about it together. Let's start with Goodreads first. So my goal this year was to read 70 books, and I really almost couldn't make it. I think I managed to finish, I finished like right after Christmas or the 27th or 28th or something like that. And then afterwards I read a novella. So this brings my total this year to 71 books. Every year the number gets lower and lower, which saddens me, but it's just life. Next year I think I'm not gonna push myself so much. I can no longer read as many books as I used to. So I think next year I'll just set a goal of 50, and I hope I won't struggle to hit 50. That'll be very sad. But yeah, okay, anyway. So I read a total of 26,416 pages. This number is always different depending on the platform, Storygraph or compile, because the numbers just vary. So this year, my shortest book was Cruel Winter with You, 72 pages, which also the last book I read this year, which was the novella that I was talking about. The longest book was A Little Life, 720 pages. Wait! The difference is 10 times. Wow, that's so coincidental. Yeah, I managed to finish A Little Life this year. I read it with my friend as a buddy read. We started reading it in 2024 and we slowly read it until we finished it in 2025. Wouldn't have managed to finish if I wasn't buddy reading, I would think. It's so long and the story is so complicated, in-depth also. I will talk about it in either my best or worst books video. I'm not gonna spoil you, you just have to watch. Oh yeah, also I forgot to say that this is part of the end of year series wrap up where I talk about my best books, worst books, reading stats, and every book I read this year, as well as for K-dramas, in terms of shows like the best K-dramas, best C-dramas, things like that. So keep an eye out for that. I'll need time to slowly film and edit, but yeah. Next is the average book length I read in 2025, 372 pages. Weirdly enough, the number 7 and 2 keeps coming out. The most shelved book I read this year was A Court of Thorns and Roses. 7,221,058 people also shelved this book. Damn. I read this very popular series this year, and I also have all my videos up on my channel where I did reading vlogs for all of them. They also get mentioned in my best and or worst books video, so you will have to watch that to find out. Least shelved, 5,663 people also shelved The Elven Days of Christmas, which is a crime because it's so good. I love this book so much. Very Christmassy vibes. I read it for the Christmas video. Please read it. It's very good. Okay, my average rating for 2025 is 3.4 stars. Let me just see what was my rating for last year. We have improved this year. Okay, last year my average rating was 3.2. Then 2023 was 3.3. So this year my rating was higher. The highest rated book I read this year on Goodreads was A Court of Mist and Fury with a 4.64 average. That's crazy. Oh, and it matches my outfit. I love this sweater, by the way. Look at it. Do you see it? It's a very cozy fall themed. And then there's foxes here. Freaking cute! It's on both sides. It's freaking cute, okay? My first review of the year was Twice Shy. I keep forgetting that I read this book. Somehow, I know the plot when I read the synopsis, but then when I see this book, I'm like, oh, what is this? I have never read it. Somehow, yeah. And then it's just a list of all my 2025 books, which you will see when I come up with that every single book I read this year, so I will show that to you. My last review of the year, it was Out of Sight by James Patterson. I owned this book. I still own this book, but I intend to unhaul it. I give it 1.25 stars, and I was very sad that I finished my Goodreads goal with this book. But it was not the last book that I read this year. I was determined not to make it so because I really didn't like that book. I thought that it was a thriller that was only at best mildly thrilling, and it made me realize that military thrillers aren't my thing. I only finished it because I owned the book. So for Goodreads. Okay, next. Storygraph. Oh my god, what is with the numbers this year? On Storygraph, it says that I finished reading 71 books across 26,614 pages. It's like the same numbers as Goodreads, but a little bit swapped. So that's not too far off this year. The first book that I read was, as I mentioned, Twice Shy, and the last book was also, as I mentioned, Cruel Winter with You. And then we have a Storygraph mood map of my reading. Lighter books push the line up and darker books pull the line down. So I read very heavy books from July to October-ish. I started off with a very high from January to April. And towards the end of the year, I started to read more lighthearted books. books. Interesting. I felt every heartbeat on the page, drifted through breezy feel-good reads, and found plenty of reasons to smile. A steady rhythm of stories kept the year moving along nicely. This is the map showing the books and pages I read per month in 2025. I read the most number of pages in August and the most number of books in December. And then the lowest number of books that I read this year was in February. Kind of makes sense because it's the shortest month with 5 books, and then also the lowest number of pages as well. The genre I spent the most time with in 2025 was romance, with 48 books. Romance. 48 out of 71. Damn. Last year I also read 48 romances. 48 books with romance genres. Okay, distinction because this one may not be necessarily fully romance. It may be fantasy books with romance marked as well. So yeah, just a disclaimer. So then romance followed by contemporary 37, followed by fantasy 24, followed by young adult 9, and then thriller 8. My longest book and shortest book is the same. Average length of the books that I read was 368 pages, and it took me around 9 days to finish each book. So I finished The Love of My Afterlife in 1 day, which was the least time spent. And then the most time spent was with A Little Life. I spent 300 days. That's almost 1 year. Oh my god. The authors I spent the most time with in 2025 was B.K. Borison with 4 books, Sarah J. Maas with 3 books, and Ali Hazelwood with 3 books. And my 2025 average rating, this one is more accurate because Storygraph allows for 0.25 and 0.5 intervals. My 2025 average rating was 3.54. It's higher compared to last year as well. Last year my Storygraph rating was 3.43. So 2025, my 5-star rates are only 2, and one of them is a reread, which is, oh no. It's Rebel Witch and Practice Makes Perfect. And then my 2025 ratings are listed on this graph here. It's mostly in the 3 to 4.5 range, which is okay. Some months were better than others. September had my highest average rating with 4.1 star, and November wasn't my favorite month with an average rating of 2.8. Both of my highest ratings and lowest ratings for this year are higher than last year. And my most number of pages read was in August with 3,061 pages, and my most shelved this year was A Court of Thorns and Roses with 926,356 users also shelving this book. I gave this book 4 stars. And the least shelved is Mistletoe Meet Cute with 1,445 users shelving it, and my rating was 4.25 stars. Again, underrated. Please read it. I liked it. My highest rated book was A Court of Mist and Fury with 4.55 stars. I gave it 4.25 stars, so it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of similar. And I explored the works of 38 new authors, including Sarah Beth Durst, Brittany C. Cherry, and Sanaka Hiraki. 37 of the books I read were part of a series, and I decided to go back down memory lane once with 1 reread this year. And I decided not to finish 7 of the books I picked up this year. I read 1 book from my own shelf this year. This is inaccurate because I have more books on my own shelf, just that I didn't list it on Storygraph. Okay, so average time to finish was, as I mentioned, 9 days, with the moods listed on this graph here. Mostly emotional, lighthearted, and funny, with then followed by mysterious, hopeful, dark, adventurous, tense, reflective, sad, relaxing, inspiring, and informative. The pace, I read 79% medium-paced books, 20% fast-paced, and 1% slow-paced. I just want to see what this 1% is. Oh, A Little Life, yes. Okay, page numbers, 77% 300 to 499, 17% less than 300, and 6% more than 500. I only read 1% non-fiction books this year, 99% were fiction, and the genres are listed out here. Magical realism is one of the genres as well, sports also, interesting, tags, only 1 own Tibra. Again, this is inaccurate because I own more books than that I've read this year. Oh, format. Okay, that's interesting. 51% of the books that I read this year were part of print, which is very surprising because I used to read mostly digital books. I guess this year I made more of an effort to borrow the library books because I wanted to show them in videos, and also some of the books I owned also as well. Very interesting, very interesting. Most read authors, more of them listed below: Maisie Eddings, Benjamin Stevenson, Rachel Lynn Solomon, Kristen Ciccarelli, and Rachel Gillick. All the books that I read were English this year, and same number of pages were there. That's about it. Then now let's move on to Core Pile, which is a system created by G. So the number of books I read per month, total including any DNFs, is on an increasing trend, with the most number of books read in December, then August, April, and January. So total books I read this year, including DNFs, was 77. That's weird because it's inaccurate with Storygraph. I made a mistake somewhere. I also DNF'd the most number of books in December. Then of November, July, May with 1 book each. Pages read per month is on this graph shown here, also an increasing trend. Total pages read this year was 26,812. Okay, a very different again. Total hours listened this year was 163, with my hours listened per month on a decreasing trend, because I find that if I'm able to read the book on its own without the audio, it helps me better. Sometimes the audiobook does more harm than good, but sometimes it's the opposite, so it depends on the book. The most number of hours I listened to was in May with 47 hours, July to October nothing. My main reasons for DNFing books, 33.3% was because of annoying characters, followed by everything else is the same percentage, unclear plot, general apathy, poor prose, everything is sucky. Oh, this is interesting. My reading method this year, it differs from Storygraph. It says that I read 39% ebook, 37% mixed media, 22.1% physical, and 1.3% audiobook. I think we should refer to this one because this is more accurate to what I normally log. Yeah, I only read one reread this year, so 98.7% of the books I read this year were first time. Series or standalone? I read 54.5% standalone books with 45.5% series. I started 15 series this year, read 6 sequels, finished 7 series this year, and I will not continue 11 series. Genre, 50.6% romance, 24.7% fantasy, 6.5% mystery, 3.9% contemporary and horror, 2.6% thriller. I read across 9 different genres. Book lengths are on this graph here. I read 96.1% novels, 2.6% novellas. And for translated books, I read a total number of 6 this year, 66.7% Korean, 33.3% Japanese. Okay, how I read the books, how I got the books. 68.8% were from the library, 19.5% were gifted, 10.4% was owned, and one of it is an art, 1.3%. Star rating, 44.3% 4 stars, 32.9% 3 stars, 14.3% 2 stars, 5.7% 5 stars, and 2.9% 2 stars. And then if we split into staff rating and half stars, 34.3% 4 stars, 20% 3.5 stars, 12.9% 3 stars, 10% 4.5 stars, 8.6% 2.5 stars, 5.7% 5 stars, and 2 stars. My average rating this year is about 3.5 considering the 0.5s. Again, the Storygraph is most accurate. Age category, 74% of the books I read this year were adult, followed by 16.9% young adult and 9.1% new adult. Damn! I remember how I used to say, I love reading young adult books. I don't want to read adult books. And then now I'm reading 74% adult books. How times have changed. Publication year, 28.6% of the books this year were 2025 releases, followed by 24.7% 2024 releases, 14.3% 2023 releases, 13% 2022 releases, 6.5% 2020 releases, and 2.6% 2021 and 2015 releases. That's interesting that the most number of books I read this year were released in 2025. It shows I'm keeping up with the times. Okay, LGBTQ plus rep, present 40.3%, absent 51.4%, main character 8.3%. Absent did a little bit better this year, which is not good. The breakdown, 40% gay, 31.4% sapphic, various 22.9%, and bi 2.9%. Disability rep is even worse, 58.9% absent, 26% present, and 15.1% main character. The breakdown is a variety of physical, illness, stroke, various panic attacks, physical again. Oh my god, my cataloging skills. Illness again, and ADHD. Authors, 76.6% are non-POC, 22.1% are, and 1.3% are unknown. The breakdown is 68.8% Asian, 12.5% Black, and 6.3% Indian, Muslim, Hispanic, Latino. 92.2% of the books I read were written by women and 6.5% by men. Nationality, 53.2% by Americans, and then 9.1% British, 6.5% Canadian, 5.2% Korean, and 6.5% unknown. I read a total of 63 different authors this year. The graph is so complicated, I'm just going to leave it there. And 58.4% new authors, 41.6% read from before authors. And last but not least, let's go through NLB Uncovered. My 2025 year in review, I borrowed a total of 55 books this year. 15 were physical, 10 were ebooks and 30 were audiobooks. Oh, my love for books shows that I made it to the top 15% of readers in NLB. That's quite interesting. And then these are just some books I borrowed in 2025. My monthly borrowing trend in total, I borrowed the most number of books, 12 books in August, May, June and January 7 each, July 5, March 4, October, September and February 3, and then November and April 2. My monthly borrowing trend is over here, and August was the best month with 12 loans. There was an 11-month streak from January to November. 4 books on average per month were borrowed. My favorite genres were romance, literature, fantasy, thriller, horror. My favorite authors, based on my number of loans, are Kristen Ciccarelli for ebooks and audiobooks, the same author first for physical books, Rachel Gillick, and then Sarah J. Maas. Oh wow, here are some recommendations for me based on my reading tastes. Should I make a video about this? It seems quite interesting. I'll keep this list a secret then. But with that, I've come to the end of the set review video. Let me know how you did for your reading year this year, and let's discuss in the comments. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel to see more of such content. I hope you're having a great day or a great week wherever you're watching. Remember to stay hydrated, and I'll see you in my next video.